And this makes for a much more accurate and a much more enjoyable sewing experience. I don't know about you. I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. And we had just been talking about the Bloc Loc rulers on Wednesday because Barb used them in the Shine On block of the month when she did the Flying Geese. And I'm doing an Ohio Star sample for the shop. And I was like, I'm not doing, and it had me doing it the way the Moda does. I'm not taking those triangles and sewing triangles together because I'm not accurate and I don't want to be frustrated and do a lot of unsewing. Those bias edges are not forgiving. So I went, I'm taking the Bloc Loc and recalculating everything. So that's what we're going to do today. Since we have 3 projects in the shop right now that need a Bloc Loc ruler for Flying Geese, that's what I'm going to do today. And I demonstrated this a while ago, a long while ago, so it's useful for repeating. So here is my 3 3/4 by 6 3/4 triangle, and here are my 2 blocks. Now I could take a ruler and I could mark with like a disappearing. This is my one of my favorite tools, a water-soluble ink, and I could mark corner to corner on my square to help me know my stitch line. But instead of taking the time to do all that marking, I like the diagonal seam tape by Cluck Cluck Sew. So it comes on a roll like this. It's a little washi tape. I have it already set up on my sewing machine. I've got this red line lined up with my with my needle, and I've got a 1/4 inch mark on either side of the red line. So you can determine where you need to sew your line. So for a and the thing I like about the Bloc Loc is that it's going to tell you exactly how to do this. So the thing you need to do is line up your edges. Let me open up my Bloc Loc ruler, not ruler, but my Bloc Loc. The trickiest part, I think, is sewing the right corner and sewing it the right direction. Oops, I'm upside down. So you can see we're going to sew here from this corner to this corner, and then I'm going to cut away the excess. So we're going to go ahead, although I'm starting, well, I can flip this way and do it this way. That's just fine. So I'm going to sew from this corner to this corner, and I just want to make sure I've got everything lined up. I'm going to do everything today, so be patient. I got my speed adjusted just right. I'm going to get that right up to my corner, the corner to my needle, right there. And then I'm going to get my other corner down here because I want to sew on the red line today. I will cut a 1/4 inch away from where I sew. This is going to help me sew. And all I have to do, I'm not even watching my needle. I know it's doing its job. And I'm just going to sew right along and keep that right there, corner to corner. And I'm done. Ta-da! I hope I remember how to sew. So you see how I've got that right there? Then, if I had my iron, of course I would press it. Now, because I don't have my iron handy, you know me and my little pen here. We're just going to hit this down here, fabric folding juice, and flip that over very carefully. Now, it is a bias edge, so you do want to be careful, but I really like how that came. I'm going to take my ruler here, and it has a 1/4 inch line, so I can take, I don't need another ruler, I can take that 1/4 inch line, put it on my thread, and cut away my, whoops, I didn't even do straight very well there, did I? Cut away my excess, and there's the first corner of my Flying Goose. Now I'll take my other one, and it's going to go right here, and I'm get those edges lined up, and I'm going to sew again. Make sure you get them all lined up. So, okay. Don't sew from here to here unless you're trying to make a parallelogram, because that's an optional block that you can make with this ruler. But we're doing the flying geese, so I'm going to line that up with my needle and get this corner lined up right there with my line and begin sewing. Again, I'm not watching my needle. I'm keeping that corner on my red line because the machine's going to do its own thing. I have to be the one that's in control and guiding it. All right? Okay, and again, I'm going to kind of help finger press it open. Now that one probably, I don't know if I didn't cut it quite square, but a lot of times we end up with problems like this. If it were me, I'm not going to care, and I'm going to show you why, because I'm using the Bloc Loc ruler. If I were not using the Bloc Loc ruler and had cut my pieces to the measurements that are required on the pattern, I am in trouble, because you can see I'm not 100% square. I've got about 1/8 of an inch on this side. But again, I'm using the Bloc Loc ruler, so that does not bother me. If I weren't, I would unsew and do it again. But that's not a big deal. Fabric folding pen magic. Push that back, make sure it's good. Pressed in place. Okay, again, I'm going to cut that excess off. Put my 1/4 inch line right here on my stitch line. Just like that. And cut it off. Let's see if I can do a better job at cutting this time. Okay, now I have my Bloc Loc ruler here, and I have my Flying Geese unit here, and now I'm going to square it up because I already pointed out that it wasn't 100% square, which that happens all the time, which is why I love these. In your Bloc Loc rulers, you have this frosted piece of channel. It's actually a groove. I don't know if you can see a groove. You can, you can feel it. And the whole point of this is that's what's going to lock into our fabric. So I'm going to put this down and I'm going to slide it up. And it's locked in. So you can see I've got my, it's locked in really nicely. And now this side right here, and I know it's this side that was not square because it's a little bit lower than this side. Like I said, I don't care. I don't have to unpick because now I can trim it off. And I would rather, it would be a lot easier if I had a spinning mat. I don't have one with me today, and I couldn't find the shop one. So I'm just going to spin this little mat, and I'm just going to trim. There's just the tiniest bit right here, but this little trim job that this ruler has you do makes all the difference when you're doing your flying geese. And I know there are tons of different ways to make flying geese. I have made many of them, and this one is my favorite because this one I know I am always square. And it's the perfect size. And like I said, it's just the tiniest bit that you're cutting away. Look at that. But something like this little piece, when you're sewing, and it's either that much bigger or that much smaller, makes all the difference. Let me make sure there's just threads right there. This is why I love these flying geese. And that is one perfect. You can fly it this way. There's the beak, but here's the star points. This makes your sewing so much more accurate, and I think so much more enjoyable when you know you're going to get your points right where they need to be. So thank you for watching today.